Greetings, everybody. I am the Forge Master of the Forge D20 podcast, Zach Coldiron. I apologize that there is no campaign episode this week, but like I told you guys in the tabletop address, I definitely want to start doing some more Raw and Unforged. So whenever we're unable to release an episode, i.e., we had a scheduled recording this week, I got sick. Therefore, I am going to release this Raw and Unforged episode for you guys. And not only am I going to release this on Patreon on Friday, I think it's like the 10th. Yeah, Friday the 10th. I'm also going to release it for free because I feel like it's the right thing to do. Now, if you do want to become a patron, you do get early access to our YouTube videos, our Dreamwalker novel, and our Rift Rooms D&D setting updates, which come once a month for Dreamwalker, once a month for Rift Room updates, and about 4 to 5 times a week for YouTube videos. So make sure you guys go check us out there. Before we get started, I do want to get our sponsorship out of the way. I want to give a shout out to our Arcanium level sponsor, Negdog Championship Wrestling. On January 25th, 2025, at Circle S Barbecue in Hudson, Florida, Negdog Championship Wrestling will be hosting their debut event from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. The wrestling starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 9 p.m., but there is a pre- and a post-show party, so make sure that you guys go ahead and secure your tickets at the Eventbrite link below, where you can use code FORGER for 20% off your order at checkout. Now, for this week's Raw and Unforged, we've done one of these before, and we kind of talked about inspiration for our D&D characters and the like, but something that a lot of people struggle with is coming up with a character. It's not easy. It's something that I struggled with and am starting to find my stride with after, let's see, I've been playing D&D for 15 years, but I've been playing a lot more religiously for about 5 to 6. So it's been something like within the last 5 to 6 years, I feel like that it's starting to click for me. Because when I first started, the biggest thing that I struggled with was having characters that were memorable. To me, and Hunter will probably disagree with me on this, I don't remember any of my characters from before 2020. I truthfully don't. Besides Kaz. Kaz was this like Archer Ranger character that I came up with and was kind of like my go-to character when I didn't have anything. Now, should I bring him back? Absolutely. I might actually come up with a backstory for the guy. But it's just something I struggled with, right? And I want to try to make it easier for you guys for coming up with characters. I want to show you guys a process that I do use when I make characters. So for this theoretical example, I'm going to use the Dreamwalker character, Walker Cultus, right? I'm not going to give any spoilers away for the novella. I'm not going to give any spoilers away for the D&D campaign, which, as a matter of fact, I don't even know anything besides the D&D campaign besides what the setting is. That will come at a later date, so make sure you guys hang tight about that. But the first step that I take when I make a character is I look for inspiration. So with Walker, without getting into too much detail, I was going through a lot of stuff in my personal life. And when I was going through these things, I found myself really, really, really connecting to music. Music was my outlet, whether I was, at work, grinding it out from like 8 to 5, or I was in the gym, or trying to get myself hyped up for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. I was always listening to music. So I turned to that. And I turned to one band in particular. And I did post about this on the Instagram page, but when I came up with Walker and his, look and his design and even pieces of his backstory. Sleep Token was one of the biggest inspirations because if you listen to the lyrics in those songs, it really resonates with what I felt like that I was going through at the time. And I was like, okay, I could come up with something with this, right? Let me think about these lyrics that I'm listening to and how can I connect this to things that are already in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I'm going to get this out of the way first as a disclaimer. This isn't like the way you have to do it, but I took inspiration from something I really like and I tried to make it my own, right? So, if you need a little bit of lore on Sleep Token, because they are a band with lore, basically, the lead singer, the drummer, the guitarists, they all worship this deity called Sleep. And what you can insinuate from the music is it seems to be a toxic relationship with this deity, right? So I was like, okay, I can work with something on this. There's something like eldritch horror-y about some of the stuff that you see about Sleep Token. So I was like, okay, I could do something eldritch horror-wise. Okay, so sleep. My brain was like, wait, there is something regarding sleep and dreams in Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, if you go to the Eberron setting, there is a race called the Kalishtar, which I had to, obviously for my novella, change to Dreamfolk, which we are going to stick with that for the D&D campaign, but the Dreamfolk are basically the Kalishtar, right? The Kalishtar are like these psionic humanoids who live in the mountains, and they fuse with these things called Curies, which are like dream world kind of like things, right? That's basically the dumbed down version of it. So I was like, okay. A Curie, however you want to say it. But in my novella, right, it's the Vesprin. The Vesprin are that equivalent. Those things that the Kalishtar, the Dreamfolk, that they merge with in order to basically be what they are, to get their psionic abilities, right? Well, I was like, okay, what if a Kalishtar or Dreamfolk never connected with a Curie, however you want to say it. I'm just going to use Vesprin and Dreamfolk for simplicity purposes, right? What if they never connected with a Vesprin? They would just be a human. That's all they are. So I was like, okay. I'm just playing a human who could maybe, at some point, and I'm not confirming whether this is true or not, could turn into a Kalishtar. Or maybe they're going to be a human forever. I don't know. It just depends on the actions of the course of the campaign. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not happening in the book. That decision's not happening in the book. That's going to happen in the campaign, and it's going to be, okay, I'm going to feel this out. I'm going to feel out the plot elements with what comes with this character, right? So, okay, we're playing a human, okay? What kind of class connects with these, like, eldritchy, horror-y kind of vibes? I want to play a spellcaster who helps people, get sleep, to be able to go in their dreams and get away from reality for a bit, because that's kind of the point of the character. Because I was like, okay, because we were inspired by Sleep Token, right? Sleep, with the whole Sleep Token thing, he feels more at peace when he's asleep, and when he's awake, it's like suffering and all that shit. But what if, like, this guy, Walker, helps people and calms them down when they're sleeping? And that's kind of what this wandering sect called the Worshippers does. I was like, okay, I can mess with this. So this has to be a magic-based class of some kind. And on top of that, it has to be kind of like an eldritch horror kind of thing. So I was like, okay, what class would be best? I looked at Wizard. I didn't really find anything that connected with the character. I looked at Warlock. I was like, I could really play a Warlock with this character, but I don't want to do that. I want to try something different. I do want to play a spellcaster, but I'm already playing a Warlock in Thrones. So I was like, Sorcerer is the way to go. And there's one subclass in particular that really took this to the next level when it came to the character creation, and that was the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. Now, to give you a breakdown of the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer and how this helped me build this character, basically an alien influence has wrapped its tendrils around your mind, giving you psionic abilities. Now you can touch other minds with that power and alter the world around you by using it to control the magical energy of the multiverse. That's literally exactly what I was going for. So I was like, okay. So what kind of being can it connect to? This is where Noctis came into play. Noctis is the god of dreams and sleep. So Walker, after his life gets turned upside down, meets these worshippers, joins them. They are worshippers of the god Noctis, hence how he becomes a member of the sect or this cult. And boom, I have a basic outline for my backstory. So just finding small things that you really like as a person, like outside of the table, and trying to mesh it into something that's related to D&D is totally possible. So I came up with a basic, like, kind of like overview what the character's going to be. That's going to be like the theme of the character, right? So now you kind of got to get a little more into the backstory, a little more, you know, in touch with what direction you plan to go. So I was like, okay, what are the origins of this character? Oh, I'm going to take something that I can connect with, that I'm going through right now, because I want to feel the emotions, like I can connect to this character myself, because I know that someone else is going through what I'm going through, so that other person is going to be able to connect with what I'm feeling when I'm playing the character. So I was like, I'm going to take this situation that's happening in my life, make it relevant. And then I was like, family and relationships. That's going to be something that's like important, because the DM told me relationships are going to be important, whether it's with your family or not with your family. But he wanted like 5 relationships that were outside of the family. So I was like, okay, I got to come up with all these different characters. So this is where I came up with, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you some of the characters' names. It's not necessarily a spoiler, but they're obviously, every cult has a leader. That guy's name is Somnus. This is the person who Walker is met, sat down, drank some tea with, and they kind of hashed it out, convinced Walker to join the worshippers, and there's, boom, one relationship right there. Okay, so now he has all these relationships that are non-familial or hometown attachments that could play into the story that we're going to build. So I'm taking these small little things, these small ideas that are just kind of like flowing through my mind, that are inspired by what I'm going through, right? Because I feel like you need to find something that like really resonates with you, and you need to do some inner reflection when you make a character. And that's what I tend to do when I make a character. So besides relationships, origins, you kind of got to then think about a name. You know, how old are they going to be? Are they going to be male, female? What are they going to look like personality-wise as well? So, name, I was like, when I was thinking, what can I name this guy? Because that's something I struggled with, actually. And I was like, I want this to be kind of like the themes of, like, astral projection or, like, dream walking. I was like, ooh, dream walking. Dream walker. Walker. That's where I came up with the name Walker. There is no coincidence that the novella I'm writing is called The Dream Walker and the main character's name is Walker. The last name, I drew some inspiration from that, but I'm going to keep that one close to the chest right now. Maybe I'll tell you guys where that inspiration comes from at a later date and time, but we'll get to there. So, boom, I came up with a name. Then I was like, how old are they going to be? I want to connect with them a little more. They're going to be about my age. So I made them about 28 to 30 years old. It's about how old I am now. I was like, okay. Obviously, I want to play a male because I want to... Obviously, I'm going with this theme of, like, inner reflection of myself, because that's what I do when I play my D&D characters. It's more of a inner reflection of my being. Now, it doesn't mean I won't ever play a female character. In fact, I have played female characters, and I do plan on playing one at some point. Stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about that, but that's going to be besides the point for now. But I was like, okay, I really need to connect with this. So it was like, physical appearance, what do they look like? That's something I struggled with. I struggled with it with this character. But what if they never take off the mask? We don't know what they look like. Kind of like with Kakashi, for example. We never see Kakashi without his mask, and there's something mysterious, and eventually, obviously, at some point, Kakashi takes the mask off. You see what Kakashi looks like. I was like, I kind of fuck with that. I'm going to take that. So they don't take off the mask. So we don't know what they look like. They wear the body paint underneath. So maybe some of their facial features or scars, they're painted over in this midnight kind of purple color, and it's like hard to discern what they look like. Then I'm like, the biggest one, besides goals, is personality. Contrary to popular belief, I am very introverted. I am so introverted that it pains me sometimes. Like, if you were to meet me in real life, say, yo, what's up? I'd be like, I'd give you the most awkward response. I'm not even going to lie to you. So I was like, what if I make them introverted? They're very different than how I speak. I'm a little, when you get to know me, I'm a more on the extrovert side, right? And I think that's normal with most people. Obviously, I'm like, I guess you could say I'm wearing a mask, in my own way, right? I was like, okay, they're introverted. But I wanted them to used to be like me, where they're angry all the time. They don't know what the fuck's wrong with them. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And then this whole putting on the mask is like them trying to cope with all that anger that they feel. So when Walker is under the mask, he's a little more soft-spoken. Maybe not a lot of confidence in his voice. See what I mean? So I was like, okay. He wants to calm people down, so he needs to talk a little calmer, control his emotions a little bit. And that's where my thought process is, and your thought process should be when you're making characters about these things. So, like, their name, how old they are, what they've gone through, their personality type based on what they've gone through. Physical appearance, obviously, is not as important, especially if you want to play a masked character. Now, I'm not saying you have to, but coming up with a physical, let's use Alistair Darkheart, for example. So switching over to him real quick. When I was coming up with his physical appearance, I was like, I really want to play this kind of like androgynous pretty boy. So, can't tell if it's a male, you can't tell if it's a female, but they are obviously, most definitely male. Very conventionally attractive. Lost an eye. Because I was like, okay, at the time I was like, okay, eye patch sounds kind of cool. How'd they lose the eye? And this is where the backstory comes. You see what I mean? You gotta, like, if you're gonna give your character these, like, physical appearances, where did they come from? Like, scars, tattoos, etc., etc. Alright, so let's flip back to Walker. We did backstory. We did some, like, the basic stuff. What motivates Walker? Now, we haven't gotten to what motivates Walker yet, but I've planted the seeds for this, so I can tell you certain things without giving away much of the book. His biggest goal is in the prologue. He lost something so precious to him. Maybe he seeks to get it back. Maybe he never wants to turn around and go home ever again. Maybe he just wants to live his own life. Maybe he wants to lead this cult. Maybe he wants to learn more about Noctis. These are just examples, right, of things that you could come up with for your own character if you were to apply this in your own way. Then personally, there's the most important thing, morals, right? What kind of morals does your character have? Obviously, everyone's different. Everyone's going to have a different set of moral compass. I wanted someone who's trying to learn from their past mistakes, being a little more gentler and soft with people so that that feeling could be reciprocated to him. And then one of the last things that I like to think of is, what kind of conflict is this character going through? There's always an inner or maybe an external conflict. So I was like, external conflict. I have an idea. I can't tell you guys. I can't tell you guys what the external conflict is for this character because it gives away too much, but I can tell you what the inner conflict with him is. It's juggling his past and trying to learn from his past mistakes, to be more gentle, to be more kind. And I want maybe there to be opportunities or moments where he struggles with that. So you, as the person making the character, have to think about those things. Now, let's think about some other things that you need to think of. You need to think of, okay, what setting am I playing? Okay, let's say, for example, we're playing Call of the Netherdeep. Okay, we're playing Call of the Netherdeep. What is the setting? It's mainly like underwater, or we're in a desert, or something like that. How can you fit that into the story? How can you fit that in the themes? Now, I'm not saying that we're playing Call of the Netherdeep. I'm not going to say what campaign we are playing, or if it's a homebrew, or whatever it is. But you need to think about those things. So, like, for example, Call of the Netherdeep, there's a guy named Elixion. He tries to show you these visions, like, oh, come rescue me. Oh, woe is me. I'm the damsel in distress. So it's kind of like, okay, how can I connect this character and make them fit in the story to give them the motivation to want to go save Elixion? Boom. You got to think about those things and ask yourself those questions. And then, like, the last thing I think about is what is going to make this character unique? Because you don't just want to be like, oh, I'm Walker Cultist. I just talk very softly. No, I need to think about maybe there's a specific pattern in his speech. Because sometimes someone says something to anger him. And he stutters when he's angry. Maybe, for example. Now, I'm not saying that's what he does, but they're like, oh, he starts to stutter. Or when he's nervous, he does this thing. When he's excited, he does this thing. What I did, for going back to Alistair as an example, when I'm nervous or I'm thinking, I take my index finger and I kind of scratch under my eyeball. Very weird tick that I have. Don't know where the fuck it came from, but it's there, right? So I was like, oh, okay, I kind of want to reflect that in myself because I realize that's something I do. So I put it in there. Or something else. I was like, when Alistair gets fired the fuck up, I want it to be like me when I'm fired the fuck up. I want to show that this dude has some fucking resiliency just like I do. And I'm not trying to blow my own fucking horn here. I know that I'm pretty resilient, and I'm not trying to sound cocky when I say that at all. It's been something I've been told. Now, are there things that I have been not as resilient to? Absolutely. Of course. Doesn't apply to 100% of situations. But I love that about myself, so what I do is I elevate it to 150%. See what I mean? That's just kind of the things that I think about when I make a character, using Alistair and Walker as examples. So, let me turn the tables to you, listener. What kind of character can you make? Why don't you message us on our Facebook or Instagram? Let us know your characters' backstories. Would love to give you guys feedback on them. I'm open to helping you guys out however you can, so feel free to follow us on social media at Forged D20 Podcast, Facebook and Instagram. Wanted to give a special shout out to Neg Dog Championship Wrestling, our patrons, Melanie Droz, Melanie Cocciolone, and Anakin Groce. I also want to let you guys know that I love you so much. Once again, sorry I couldn't put out a campaign episode for you this week. We are working on getting multiple recordings done this week. Like, I'm trying to do more than one. Love you guys. Thank you for being patient. And do me a goddamn favor and take it easy.